60 who killed himself June 10th after penning a letter blaming the U.S. government. The song is called Country Fear. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Aaron Maté.
Well, we spend the rest of the hour with someone who has fought tirelessly for women's rights here in the U.S. and around the world, Eve Ensler. She is the award-winning playwright and creator of the Vagina Monologues and V-Day, a global movement to stop violence against women and girls. V-Day, in turn, gave rise to 1 Billion Rising, a February 14th, 2013 event urging women and men to strike, dance, rise against violence.
Eve Ensler is out with a new memoir called In the Body of the World. It's an exploration of the female body, how to talk about it, how to protect it, how to value it. She shares her deeply intimate, painful relationship with her own body and how it's changed throughout her life, from being raped by her father to struggling with anorexia, from battling uterine cancer to reclaiming her body when dancing with the women of the Democratic Republic of Congo. She writes, quote, "We're the people of the second wind. We who have been undermined, reduced and minimized. We know who we are. Let us be taken. Let us turn our pain to power, our victimhood to fire, our self-hatred to action, our self-obsession to service, to fire, to wind." Eve Ensler is here with us in New York. We are also joined by Christine Deschryver, a Congolese human rights activist with V-Day, the director of the City of Joy, a revolutionary community for women survivors of gender violence in Bukavu, Democratic Republic of Congo. She and Eve will be speaking tonight about City of Joy here in New York at the Paley Center for Media. Eve Ensler, Christine Deschryver, it's great to have you both back in our studios. Eve, you are on a worldwide tour in the body of the world. What is your message in this book?
Well, I think for many of us who've been traumatized, which is kind of all of us to some degree, whether you've had primary trauma or secondary trauma through witnessing trauma, like I'm thinking of the Iraq veteran you were talking about today. I mean, we've all been part of trauma. I think at an early age or at any point in our life, it separates us from our bodies and from ourselves, and we progressively become more and more detached from our hearts, from our ability to be compassionate, from our connection to our own bodies, but also from the earth and from each other. And I think for me, the journey back to my body has taken me many, many years to get back inside after suffering enormous violence when I was younger. And there's been many paths to get back. But I think when I got uterine cancer and I suddenly woke up after 9 hours of surgery with all kinds of body parts missing and rearranged, for the first time in my life, I was in my body. And that, what I'm kind of referring to as the cancer conversion, was this journey that went for about 9 months, where I went through infections and chemo. But by the end of it, I was back inside. And what it's made me aware of is the more inside ourselves we are, the more connected we are to other people and to the plights of other people, to the suffering of other people, but also to the earth itself.
Well, can you explain how you came to this conclusion and talk about your healing journey?
Yes. I mean, I think the journey with cancer was really arduous and really difficult. I had stage 3/4 cancer, and it had invaded parts of me, so a lot had to go. And I think one of the more interesting parts of the journey was when I had to go for chemotherapy, because I was absolutely terrified of chemotherapy, and I just wasn't going to do it. I just was too scared. And an old therapist came by out of nowhere to help me, and she just gave me this kind of frame for it, which was to see the cancer as an empathetic warrior, something that was not for me, but for the cancer, for the perpetrators, for my father, for the rapists, and I got to poison them, and they were never going to come back. And that frame really allowed me to go into chemo and say, okay, I'm going to now get rid of all these things in my body that have prevented me from actually living in my body. You know, my trauma, my pain, my sorrow, my guilt, my shame. And I think as that was going on, we were building City of Joy in the Congo, and Christine was kind of on the front lines of doing that. And our relationship and my connection to making that happen and kind of living for that to happen allowed me to keep going. So there was this kind of synergy between the two.
And I want to talk about the City of Joy in the context of a new study that's warning more than 1/3 of women worldwide are victimized by sexual or physical assault from a partner. Unveiling the findings, Dr. Claudia Garcia Moreno of the World Health Organization said violence against women is a global epidemic.
This report for the first time brings together data on the prevalence of different forms of violence against women, and it shows that the problem is widespread and it's unacceptably high. 1 in 3 women globally are affected by either physical or sexual violence from a partner or sexual violence by a non-partner. Violence against women is a global problem, that it is widespread and it occurs in all regions at unacceptably high levels.
According to the study, 40% of women killed worldwide were slain by a partner. Christine Schuler Deschryver is with us as well, Congolese human rights activist who founded Body of Joy. City of Joy. Eve Ensler's with us, author of In the Body of the World. City of Joy, what is it, Christine?
City of Joy, I think, you know, they used to say that Congo is the worst place to be a woman, but I think City of Joy, it's like one of the best places, because it's a place where we empower women. We don't assist women, we empower them. And it's a V-Day program, and until now we are on our 4th session, and we already trained 222 women. They do have different training, and when they go back into their villages, they are sort of role models to become leaders.
Why do they come to the City of Joy? Who are these women?
You know, these women are girls and women from 15 till 30, and all of them are survivors of gender violence. We worked with grassroots, with the local NGOs, and we have different kind of criteria like ages and survivors of different kind of violence. And then we go and interview them on the ground, and after that we select 90 of them to come to City of Joy, and they stay for 6 months.
And City of Joy took part, of course, in 1 Billion Rising?
Of course, and we had the privilege to have Eve Ensler with us and most of our funders. So it was kind of amazing. And I have to say, for the first time also, like we saw so many people involved. Like even the general of the army, he signed a commitment with V-Day. It never happened before. Policemen, army, you know, to support a woman. So until now, the impact is huge.
And I don't think with Christine, because she's so modest, I mean, what's really happening at City of Joy is that we're seeing incredible transformation. I was there to visit this last class, and we're seeing girls who, for example, arrive with children who are the products of rape, who end up being able to love their children. People who arrive with bullet wounds, who end up opening houses for elderly people. People who arrive unable to function and have been the product, you know, have suffered mass rape or now running restaurants. We're seeing this incredible and immediate transformation because the program is so full of therapy, healing, training, agricultural training, computer training, and there's massive therapy that happens in a community context.
Why the Congo? Why Democratic Republic of Congo, Eve, did you focus your work?
Well, I think for years I've been traveling the globe and visiting the rape mines of the world, and I've seen pretty horrible stuff from Bosnia to Haiti to Afghanistan. But when I got to Congo 7 years ago, and I sat at the invitation of Dr. Denis Mukwege, who is our partner, and I sat in Panzi Hospital and I listened with Christine, who was actually my translator. That's when we bonded and fell in love, and we had to work together. When we sat together and we listened to the stories we were hearing, and she had heard some before, but I think even she hadn't heard those stories. It was so horrific. The level of atrocities, what was happening to women's bodies, and the numbers were so excruciating. And I felt in my heart that if we didn't stop here and focus on the Congo, it would not only spread, but it would be basically saying, I came, I saw, and I left, the worst atrocities that are going on. We're talking about 8 million people dying in the Congo. I think at least 2 million women have been raped. I mean, the statistics won't tell you that, but if you interview individual women, I have yet to meet a woman who hasn't suffered violence.
And in your book, you talk about your cancer in the context of all these atrocities that you've witnessed. Can you talk about what I think it's fair to call it a sort of symbiotic relationship that you describe?
Well, I think one of the things I feel is that when we suffer trauma and when we listen to trauma, we can't underestimate what it does to our bodies. You know, where does trauma go? I wish people would do studies looking at the relationship between all these reproductive cancers and trauma. So many women I know who have either been raped or abused or beaten, or who are listening to the stories are getting sick. And I think we hold trauma. It goes into us. So we need places like City of Joy where people can release their trauma and purge it.
The operations that are taking place at City of Joy by Dr. Mukwege and the pressure you're under, Do you feel you have been able to reduce violence in Congo, which is so...
No, we don't have the pretension to say that we reduce, because first of all, Congo is a country and the government has to play its role. That means that's the role of the government. But what really, the change we bring is like, you know, like in the mentality of people, you know, not to just sit down and wait for everything. We are creating some, you know, seeds of revolution, but you know, like in a Pacific revolution, because also when we did the campaign like a few years ago, it was for the women to take back their power, also like our bodies belong to us, so we can also decide for our bodies. And now we can slowly see the change in the mentality, and also with the 1 billion rising, most of the women didn't even know what the kind of violence, they just thought it was rape that was violent. So I think in that way I can see a huge change in Congo.
Yves Ensler, 1 billion rising. What happened this past February 14th, and where are you going with it?
Well, it was just amazing. We got 207 countries to rise, and I think we were pretty close to 1 billion people. And we just are putting this video together of all these videos around the world, and it is astonishing what happened, from women in Bhutan dancing with butter lamps to the members of parliament taking over the parliament. This year we're about to launch 1 billion Rising for Justice, which will be a bigger action. And what we're going to do is we're launching on Thursday. You can go to weekdays.org. But really what this campaign is going to be is asking and calling on women and all the men who love them to go to the places where they deserve and are entitled to justice, whether it's a courtroom, a police station, a church, a home, a military operation, and to release there your story in whatever form it comes to you, anonymously, testimonies, dance, sing, wail, scream, burn effigies, and say the time has come for women to get justice. And then we're going to dance again. And it's so exciting. We have Monique Wilson now, who is leading the campaign, who literally got the entire Philippines to rise. And we have 30 coordinators around the world who are really leading this campaign. And it's going to be amazing.
I want to thank you both for being with us. Yves Ensler, her new book is called In the Body of the World, a Memoir. And Christine Schuler Deschryver, Congolese human rights activist, director of the City of Joy. That does it for our broadcast. Democracy Now! Is produced by Mike Burke, Renee Feltz, Armate Nermin Sheikh, Steve Martinez, Saima Kapani, Masoud Ravi, Karantina Gazdari.